Okay, hello go-getters. I just hope you are doing good. So in this video, I just want to show you this type of factorization. This kind of type, do you see? So this thing is what you call a difference of two squares. And it is straightforward, guys, this thing. It's not even hard. It doesn't need a lot of thinking, just need the understanding. Do you understand? Yeah. So from my previous video, guys, I think I showed you a different type of factorizing, and now I'll be doing the difference of two squares. So do you notice that this thing, it got minus here? It means that it is in this format. Do you see? It got minus, meaning this thing, it is on this format because here we got two terms, also here we got two terms. Yeah. So now you want to know, will you be able to apply difference of two squares here? So to know that, you should know that here, are you able to take the square root of 9? Here the square root of 9 is what? It's 3. Do you see? And now the square root of this thing of a2, we will have the exponent. It means it's only a with 1 there. But that one, you take it as in its invisible one. So if we are able to take the square root of 9 and we are able to take the square root of this thing, it means difference of two squares, we can apply it. Difference of two squares, we can apply it here. Do you see? So how to apply difference of two squares? You just say open bracket, close, open and close. So the square root of 9, it's what? It's 3. Do you see? And the square root of a squared, you have the exponent, it's a. Then you can just say plus or minus, which is this one is the final answer. Do you see how easy this thing it is? It's not even hard, guys. It needs understanding. So let's go for this one now. So check this one. This thing, it is also in this format. We got minus, and we are able to take the square root of 4, which is 2. We are able to take the square root of x, 4. We will have the exponent there, it will be 2. We are able to take the square root of this thing. We will have the exponent, it's 1 there, which is invisible 1. Do you see? So since here we are able to take the square root of 4 of x, 4 minus by this thing, it means here we can apply difference of two squares. So how to apply difference of two squares? You just say open bracket, close, open and close. So the square root of 4 then, it's 2. And the square root of what? Of x4, it's x2. Also what you did on that side, you also do it on this side. Do you see? 2x to the exponent 2. 2x to the exponent 2. And the square root of y, 2, it's y. Then you can say minus or plus. It doesn't matter, guys. Even if you start with what? Even if you start with plus and say minus, or even say minus and say plus, it doesn't matter. So now, here's another question. Even this one, you can stop the video and try to do it. But for this one, you can see that here, this thing, it is on this format. It got minus. Do you see? And now, we are able to take the square root of 4, which is 2. We are able to take the square root of x6, which is x3. We have the exponent. Even here, we are able to take the square root of 9, which is 3. Able to take the square root of y, which is y. Do you see? For a base, guys, you have the exponent. Do you see? Meaning, if we are able to take the square root of this term and that term, it means we can apply difference of two squares. So let's apply difference of two squares. You just say open, close, open, close. So the square root of this thing is 2x3. 2x3. Yeah? And the square root of this one now, it's 3y. It's 3y. You can say minus or you can say plus. It doesn't matter. You can start with minus, plus or minus. Do you see? It doesn't matter, guys. as long you know how to apply the difference of two squares. You see, even this one, guys, it's straightforward. You are able to take the square root of 144 which is, I think it's 12 if I'm not lying, but I'm sure it's 12. Yeah, even I got the calculator. I don't know why I'm thinking, guys. So here, yeah, I never doubt myself. Do you see? It's 12. So it means that the square root of 144 is 12, and the square root of what of this thing, you will have the exponent. It give you what? b2. The square root of 1 is just 1. Do you see? Yeah. So guys, if we are able to take the square root of these things, it means we can apply difference of two squares. It means we can apply the difference of two squares, and also this thing, it is in that format. It got minus there. So we'll just open, close, open, close. So the square root of this one, it's 12b2, 12b2, it's 1, 1, and say plus or minus. The sign doesn't matter. You can start with any sign. Do you see? Yeah. So let me do this one. Even you can stop the video and try to do it by yourself, this one. Yeah. But let me just guide you how to go about it. If guys, you can notice this one now. This one, it is not on this format now, this thing. It is not on this format. Do you see? Here there is minus and here there is plus. Do you see? And also here we cannot take the square root of this number. We cannot take the square root of this one here. Check something. Let's take the square root of squared 27. This thing, it gives you 3. Do you see what I get? Which is that thing, it is a decimal, guys. This thing, it is a decimal numbers. And you can't write the decimal because it will confuse you. So let's try this one as well as this one. It gives us 2 to the squared 2. This thing, it is just a decimal. So if you can try to take the square root of p9, here you can't have that exponent. It will be this over that. And this thing is just a fraction. And you cannot have an exponent, which is the fraction, when you factorize. Do you understand? As this one, even though this one, you can take the square root of this, you will have the exponent 6 over 2, which is this thing, it's 3. Do you see? Here you can have the exponent, but here you cannot take the square root, you cannot take the square root, here you can take the square root. Because this thing is not on that format, we cannot apply the difference of two squares for this question. You see? Then for the next video, I will show you how to factorize this kind of a question. Because this thing is what we call difference of sum of cubes. Here. Because you can take the cube root of these things. You can take the cube root, say shift and say this. Say shift and say this. How? Oh, this calculator is so disappointing. Leave it, guys. So you can take the cube root of this thing here, like the cube root of this from yours. I'm sure it will give you 3, and the cube root of this one, it will give you 2. Do you understand? And now if you take the cube root of this thing, it means you will divide by 3 that thing, which is 9. It means you'll just say 9 divided by 3, which is this thing, it will give you P3. And also that 6, you can take its cube root, or its Q here. This thing, it will just be Q, 6 divided by 3, which is this thing is Q2. So here, because you can take the cube root, all of these things, it means you can apply the difference of sum of cubes. But I will show you to the next video how to apply the difference of sum of cubes. Do you see? Because this video, it is made for what? For difference of two squares. Yeah. So check this one now. I can say it is the last one, but unfortunately, we got still another 2 questions that I'm planning to do with there. So this one is not the last one, by the way. Yeah, because I still plan to do another question. So this one, guys, you can take the square root of this thing, you can have the exponent, you can take the square root of this thing, you can have the exponent. Do you see? But now guys, there is something that I told you from my previous video, that when you factorize, you don't just factorize guys. All the time you look for a common factor. Ne? You don't just factorize, you look for a common factor. Because if you just factorize this thing, it will just make your answer to be kind of improper as a sin, you know. Yeah. So this one guys, first to look for a common factor here. Ne? So here we got the common factor, something which is common on both sides, it's 6. So you can even take your common factor, you can take your common factor, divide by that common factor both sides and take it out. Then if you divide here, it cancels, you're left with P18 minus by, this will cancel Q6. Do you see guys? And remember, when you are factorizing, you should factorize completely. You don't just leave your answer like this guys. You check, you should check inside a bracket. Are you able to factorize this thing? This thing, we can factorize it, this one, because it is on this format. Do you see it got that minus, and we can have the exponent, meaning we can take the square root of this thing. Have the exponent here, it gives us 9. Have the exponent of this thing, it will give us Q what? 3. Do you see this thing guys? Meaning up we can apply different of two squares. So let's apply different of two squares of here. You say open, open and close. And remember this one, it is still here. You drop it down. And take the square root of this thing. You will have the exponent, it gives us 9. It gives us 9. And for this one, you will have the exponent, it gives you 3. It gives you 3. You see? And you will say plus or minus, which is this one. For this video, you can say it is the final answer, guys. For this video, you can say this thing, it is the final answer. But this thing, you can also apply the what? The different of sum of cubes here. Here, you can apply different of sum of cubes even here. But because I don't want to confuse you more, so I will just continue this video from the next video. Do you understand? Yeah. The key thing about this video, guys, is to understand the difference of two squares and know that when you factorize, you don't just go to difference of two squares all the time. You should first look for a common factor. Don't just go straight to difference of two squares. You will mess things up, guys. So please, when you factorize, check, is it there any common factor? You can take it out. Do you notice that for all the other one, there was no common factor? That's why here just go deep, factorize once. Even here, there was no common factor. There was no common factor. So let me show you these two questions, guys, how to go about it. Do you notice that this thing, this one, it got minus? It means it is in this format. And also we can have that exponent, we can have this one. It means we can apply difference of two squares. So let's apply difference of two squares. Open, and close. When you take the square root of this thing, you will have the exponent. It gives you x3, it gives you x3. This one, you will have the exponent, it gives you y2, it gives you y2. Do you see, guys, this thing? And you will say now plus or minus, which is this one, it's your final answer. Do you see? Even though this thing, you can check, okay, this thing, yeah, it is on this format. Do you see? But now the problem, it is 1. The problem, this thing, you can't have the exponent of this. You can't take the square root of x3 because you'll get x3 over 2, which is that thing, it is a fraction. Do you understand? Even though this one, you can take the square root, it will just give you y1. Do you understand? Because here you cannot take the square root, it means you cannot apply the difference of two squares here. It means you cannot apply this thing, guys. It means you cannot apply difference of two squares. So now let me go to the last question. This one is what we call the last question, guys. The last question, it needs you, guys. It needs you, this one. But now the problem is what? On this question, we cannot apply difference of two squares due to the fact that here, guys, all this thing, do you see this? It is on this format, actually. It is on this format. It got minus, but here we cannot apply this thing. The reason why I say that, yeah, you can take the square root of this thing, which is 8. You are correct, no doubt. But you cannot take the square root of this one, because you'll get x 9 over 2, which is this thing. You cannot have the exponent of 9. Do you see? Even this one, you cannot take the square root of this thing. Do you see? You'll just get 3 over 3. So you can take the square root of this one, which is this thing. You will have that exponent. So this thing, it will give you y3. So because, guys, you cannot take the square root of this and that, which is this and that. Because you cannot take the square root of this thing, it means you cannot apply this thing. Do you see? This thing, guys, it's what we call difference of sum of cubes. I'll show you on this next video. But for now, I just hope you did understand all the bases about what? About factorizing in difference of two squares. So what I will do for you guys, I can just give you some simple questions, just to understand this thing, So please try this question, guys.